sir. I'm the census taker. Are you married or happy? Married.
Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face, radio, and a voice for print. The x-axis, which is really not an x because it's an xy kind of, it's a sideways x, and of course the x-axis is horizontal. But it's a value x-axis because as men increase, women decrease, and this is how it's been traditionally, and it's how society's worked. And I've got lots of examples and lots of stuff to talk about. But this is why I think that almost every single relationship is failed and doomed almost from the start today. Now, I know that sounds very pessimistic, and it's not the case with everybody. And yes, I use Hollywood actors and actresses in this case because it's very easy to find images of them when they were young and now that they're old because they have paparazzi stalking them and trying to take photos of them. So what am I talking about with the x-axis value? Well, let's start going back to the 1850s. Now, ironically, for this idea of mine, I went back to the 1850s, and I found some wealthy Victorian couples, 62 fabulous portrait photos of husband and wife between the 1840s and 1850s. So now we're going back almost 200 years. And if you look through these photos, there's something that you'll notice. Number one, even for wealthy people, these are not very attractive people. I don't know what you Victorians were up to, but these are not very attractive people. But the reason why they were wealthy is because, as you can see, they've touched up and doctored some of these photos. But instead of just a steel chain to hold a pocket watch, he had a gold chain. She's wearing gold earrings, very nicely done hair. But you can see that not a whole lot of good-looking people here. and in many cases, they're equally as not attractive. But this is what I noticed in these photos, is that the women had man hands. and what do I mean by that? The women worked. Even in wealthy households, the men worked and the women worked. But here's the difference. They had a bargain. They were two opposite sides of the same coin. Now, I'm going to stretch this a little bit, not because I'm trying to make the video longer, but because I have a point to make, and it's going to take a lot of explaining. Sometimes my head runs down these rabbit holes. So these they didn't look happy because they had to hold very still for sometimes minutes on end for the image to set onto the usual steel plates that they had. So they looked very unhappy. But the men went off to work, and what did the women do? The women risked their lives having childbirth. They worked around the home. They did the wash by hand, drying. They did the chores. They made food by hand. I mean, it was literally like go buy some flour, water, milk, eggs. I don't even think they had ice boxes back in the 1800s. So, you made everything. And my grandmother, she made a lot of her stuff from scratch. It was work. So they both put in the equal amount of work. It was a partnership. They weren't the same. They had two very different, distinct jobs. But men didn't know how to cook. Men didn't know how to do laundry, nor did they want to. That was women's work. And women were happy to be mothers and wives at home, and they didn't want to go and deal with the stress and have to go out in public and deal with, not public, but go to work and deal with a boss, and it wasn't in their minds. And the reason why marriages worked is number one, not only did they love each other, but number two, they were the best each other could probably get, and number three, they needed the other half of the relationship to successfully navigate society. That's just how it was back in the day. Now you jump forward here to 100 years ago, and this is the Roaring Twenties. Roaring Twenties, wedding styles, fabulous photos of newlyweds from the 1920s. And what do you see here? A lot less toiling in the fields and a lot more businessmen. These, I don't know if this said this was wealthy. No, just newlyweds. And what do you see? The women are now more feminine. The men are still masculine, but in different ways. They're businessmen, they're intelligent, they're hardworking. I don't think any of us would look at either the men or the women and find them devastatingly attractive. However, you do see here an older gentleman still getting the younger ladies. That looks like Just Pearly Things. That looks like Pearl from Just Pearly Things. Maybe it's hard for you to tell, but let me zoom this in a little bit, see if you can. Doesn't that kind of look like Pearly from Pearly Things? It does to me a little bit. Let's see what else we got here. But anyway, you look here and you're like, okay, again, what's the difference? What's the point I'm trying to get to? Point I'm trying to get to is that 5s married 5s and 3s married 3s, and maybe a 7 income man who was a 4 in income married a 5 looks for woman, or maybe she was 5 as a cook and a mother and all that other stuff, right? That everybody, there was some value in the other person that you didn't possess. You just didn't have it. And so you needed that other person to complement you and who you are. Well, now today, let's come back over to here. Now today, I'm going to use this image as a good example here. You take George Clooney as a starting out actor. This is a photo from his time on The Facts of Life. The ladies liked him. He had no problems dating. I remember I was a young lad when Facts of Life was on, and it was either my mother or my sister used to watch that show. And I'd catch it every once in a while because we only had one TV, and I might be in the room reading a comic or, I don't know, hanging out with my dad or talking about something. And I remember George Clooney was on that show. And he'd come on, and some of the girls would applause, and you'd hear the audience, ooh, and George Clooney. Could George Clooney date somebody then? Yes, he could. Could he have had a relationship? Yeah, he could have. Could he have dated Erica Elenick, the girl that is posted above him on this thumbnail? No, he could not. I guarantee you that. Erica Elenick was supermodel material. She was also an actress, made more money than he did. Now, again, maybe the timelines don't sync up, but probably made more money than he did. And she was dating, she was dating the older George Clooney, probably. Like she was dating stars. And the X is the years in between. And now we have a 60-year-old George Clooney and a 53-year-old Erica Elenick. Could Erica Elenick now date George Clooney now? Not in 100 million years. As a matter of fact, the younger couple is more likely to date than the older couple. And what's a good way to put this? In her youth, Erica Elenick could date anybody, so she dates top men. She only dates the best. And now I'm going to bring it forward to modern times, like today times, even though these photos and what I'm describing now is 1980s, 1990s. Erica Elenick today, if she looked like this, could date anybody. Who's she going to date? She's going to date the guys with money that also have looks, or she's going to date the guys with looks or some game or both. And likely they're going to be older because 19, 20, 21-year-old Erica Elenick is not going to find a 20-year-old guy that makes bank. And so what's happening today is someone like Erica here, she will hook up with hot guys. She will date hot guys with money. The problem is she has nothing else to offer. There's no other side of the coin because she also has her own job. She also has her own money. So her value that she sees in him is very shallow, meaning he only values him for his looks and what he can provide her. Now, if you take the guy that's going to date Erica Elenick and that she would date him, well, he's a player. He's got money. He's good looking. He's successful. He's probably got a dozen Erica Elenicks on the phone that he can reach out to at any moment. And she doesn't offer anything to him but looks and sexuality. And so what they end up doing is just getting into this place where everything is pleasure. It's just the pleasure of the relationship. It's the fun dates. Each other's attractive to look at. They do a lot of the old in and out. They have a lot of relations. sexy times fun, and then over time, the newness of that fades. And because he has no other value to her other than, his looks and his Playboy status, and she offers nothing because she can't cook. And again, I'm just using generalizations here, but you understand what I'm saying. She can't cook. She doesn't want to be a mom. She works. She has her own money. They offer nothing to each other. Now you take, okay, I thought I had my George Clooney photo in here, but I guess not. Okay, that doesn't matter. Because we know young George Clooney today, even if he's a starting out, actor, but he works as a waiter, he's got no prayer of really dating much at all. Someone that's even relatively average. Why? Because those average women have guys that want to just sleep with them. And they are good looking or better looking than him. And they may not even have as much to offer, but that doesn't matter because, again, everything is shallow. It's just, we're just here for fun. And George Clooney, young George Clooney, he's not hot. I don't, he might have a couple of bucks to rub together. Maybe I can take him for a ride for a month. But I don't want to be with him because he doesn't offer me anything because I don't need his money. And he's not hot. And he's thinking, well, I'd love an Erica Elenick, but she doesn't even look my way. Do you guys, you follow what I'm saying, right? Okay. So what happens as time goes on, Erica Elenick ages. And she's still smoking hot even 5 or 6 or 7 years later. And she's still very attractive 5 or 6 or 7 years later. And she's still, well, now we might have had some work done. Things are looking a little rough. This is her at 47 years old. She is 3 years younger than I am in this photo. Now, I look at myself and I say, I don't think I look too bad for 50. And I look at her and I say at 47, she looks kind of rough. But you know what? I'm a guy. And of course, when I look at most people that look at themselves in a mirror, there was a psychological study. Most people, when they look in a mirror, they don't see the progression, they don't see their age, they don't see their flaws nearly as much as everybody else does. So maybe all of you look at me and you go, dude, you definitely look 50. But to me, she doesn't look good for 47. And here's what got me started on this whole thing. Here's Erica Elenick at 53 years old. And that's the photo that I put in the thumbnail. They say Baywatch star Erica Elenick looks unrecognizable in rare outing. And she I've got this on mute, so let me play this through here, because it's got cringe music on it that I can't play. But she took her dog out for an early morning walk, and you can see the fabulous shape of her body is gone. She has, wrinkles and fat around her neck. She's definitely got a pot belly. She's wearing a fanny pack. Not exactly, in this one, she doesn't have any. Go away. She doesn't have any. Go. This stupid pop-up popped up. I don't want to see what's next. I want to just see this video. And now she's got fully sleeved arms on both arms. But you just go back just a couple of years ago. Boy, she's covered up her arms in all these photos, hasn't she? Well. And then, so, what's my point? And here they say a bunch of nice glowing things about her. And I have nothing to hate against her, but here's the thing. This is the whole point of this, right? What does Erica Elenick offer men now? Nothing. She still can't cook. She still wasn't a mother to his kids. She wasn't a dedicated partner. She didn't show any loyalty to any. Now, maybe she is married, but my point is that her value is greatly diminished. Not as a person, as a partner. As a partner, her value is diminished. I'll make my point to all this stuff here in a minute. I promise you. Here's Sofia Vergara at 51 years old, right around the same age as Erica here. She's worked on her looks and her beauty. She's kept herself attractive and fit. Does she still have value to men? Yes. Why? They're the same age. They both, I think Erica Elenick's, I read her estimated net worth was $4 million. If you knew she was a millionaire, would you marry her? No. Why? Because you don't value the money portion of it. Because you have to make money. You don't value any of it. The only thing you valued was her youth and her beauty, and that's gone. Now, for a lot of you guys out there, would you date or marry Sofia Vergara at 51 years old? If you're a 50-year-old dude, you'd probably be like, yeah, she's my age. That's no big deal. She's beautiful. She's hot. But, she'd still never look at you because your value is beneath her. Why? Because she still has her looks. The same thing goes for Salma Hayek. This isn't the best photo I could find of her, but this is the most recent photo of her doing something for a photo shoot. Her face looks a little rough in this photo. There's other pictures that make her face look better. Is she still... Yes, she's still highly valued. Why? Youth, femininity, beauty, that's all there. She doesn't need to have the other skills or the other values because she's still valued for what men primarily want from women, which is sexuality, youth, and beauty. And so, here's my young George Clooney picture. So young George today that's out there just trying to date, women look at him, and now if he looked like this, it would be a little awkward because he definitely has like the 90s hairstyle, which is the mullet, kind of business in the front, party in the back. But let's say George looked like this today. Is George getting a lot of dates? No. Will he get some? Yes. Will he value those women for their skill as a mom and maybe a good person and being sweet and kind? Probably. And they'll see him the same way. Why? Because he's not extremely wealthy and he doesn't have incredibly good looks. And neither do the women. They don't offer much either. So what is this? This is the mediocrity. This is the 1950s photo, right? Two average people kind of hooking up and getting together. But the difference is they don't make a permanent relationship. They don't make a marriage out of it. And so as George Clooney ages to this, there's a lot of women that would say, I think he's still attractive, or even maybe more attractive here. He's kind of the silver fox thing. But his value is skyrocketed. Why? He's powerful. He's popular. He's well known. He's exceptionally rich. Any woman that would be married to him would have a life of ease. But what's he going to value in a woman? He's going to value looks and fertility and beauty, like all men do. The only reason that men also value the woman that's feminine, takes care of the house and raises the kid and everything else is because she adds to his life. But now he doesn't need that. He can hire maids and chefs. And so any woman that he goes and looks for today is not going to be quote-unquote wife material that's good mom and the rest of that stuff. He's already had his kids. So what does he value today? Today he values this. The same as always. And he's a 60-year-old man versus a 53-year-old woman. And then what about Tom Cruise? He's 58, 59, I think, something like that. Brad Pitt, late 50s. These guys have always been good looking, so they always had the desire from the women. But now they're also popular and good looking, and so they can have everybody. And the problem is that the guys that aren't the movie stars, aren't the actors, but look like this, well, there's, a 60-year-old Brad Pitt is sleeping with these women at bare minimum, and more likely, he's sleeping with this woman. And so in the end, women, and I've said this in multiple videos, but I don't think, like a lot of women hear this and they just think men are pigs. They don't understand men. Oh, here's the last photo I'll talk about. And then I'll get into I'll wrap this all up right here. This is Howard Stern, a 6 foot something, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", gangly dude with a Jerry curl fro going on, big nose, not good looking. And that's his wife next to him. Now, they're probably divorced by now, and she probably took half his money. But why would this even get started? Because of values. He values the youth and the beauty. She values the money, the status, and the power, even if the looks aren't there. So what happens? What's the big takeaway of this? Because I'll do these talks and then I'm called a woman hater, and no. I want the best for women. Why? Because I want the best for men, and what's best for men is good women, honestly. Or no women at all. Like either a great woman or no woman. And most of us have decided no women because that's how things roll. But if you look at it the way the dating dynamics are today, a young, beautiful woman only sees value in men, not for their resources, not for their work ethics, not for everything else they bring to the table, which is why John the plumber could get married at 27 years old back in the day to a decent-looking woman because he was a decent provider and a good man, and and they would make it to the finish line together. They each felt like they chose a partner that was the best they were going to get. But now, she doesn't see John the plumber as a good catch because all of his resources and everything he brings to the table doesn't have any value. The only thing that he brings to the table that has some value is his looks. And we all know good-looking people are very rare or hard to find. The top 10 or 20% of people are, they're only 10 or 20% of the population. So when women are acting like men and they want to sleep with men just for a casual hookup, and the men are like, you know what, it's free punani. Like, I'm not going to turn it down. And she doesn't bring being a good partner and a good relationship and being a good mom and being feminine and being kind and being giving. I'm just going to use her for her looks and her femininity and her sexuality, and that's all. And the women are using the men for the same thing. And then they get bored of each other. They realize that maybe they're not such great partners after all, and they bounce. Or he's like, I have so many options, I don't need to choose you, and you're not exactly what I want. So he moves on. Or she says, there's this other bad boy that's kind of flirting with me. I've kind of gotten to know you. You don't give me the tingles anymore. I'm bored. I'm moving on. And so everything now is the fast food of dating. And in the past, even in my day, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even in my day, women would still look to men and say, you know what, it was a lot easier for men to be a better provider. But now, because of women graduating college at such a high rate, and the quote-unquote affirmative action for women, which is we must promote and empower women now graduate more from college. So men don't have a degree to offer. Women now in 147 or 148 out of the top 150 cities in the country, in white-collar jobs, women now out-earn men. So men don't offer the money, or the ones that do, again, are that top 10 or 20%. So what's left for a woman to want out of a man? The hooking up part, the dating part. And so the two shall never meet. The two shall never meet. The great guys out there will be sleeping with everybody. When I say great, I mean like the top 20%, top 10%. They'll be hooking up and sleeping with everybody. And the top 10 or 20% of women will not only be with those guys, but be with multiples of them. And then they're shocked why no man wants to settle down with her, because what does she offer? Her looks and her beauty, but that's readily available to him from all women. And lastly, let me. I'm just going to quickly pause this and pull up a screenshot that I pulled up earlier today. Hold on. This is something that I tweeted out earlier today. And this is from a newspaper article. The Houston Health Department recently reported a syphilis outbreak has significantly impacted women in eastern Texas and continues to expand in 2023. And I said, here, ask yourself this. How could a ton of women catch something, but the same number of guys don't? They're all sleeping with and sharing with the same top players. And what's this mean? Let's say you have one guy. He's sleeping around. He's a top 5 or 10%er, very successful with the ladies, and he catches an STI. Because so many women want to be with that one guy, he sleeps with, 10, 20, 30, however many women, and they all get infected. But those women aren't hooking up with average guys. Those women they don't have boyfriends in a lot of cases. They don't have partners. They just keep going after the same top 10 percenters. And so that woman maybe doesn't know she has something, or if the hookup period is very close together, maybe she's gotten something, but she doesn't know it yet, but she is able to give it to others, and she goes out with another top 10 percenter. And she gives it to him. And then he's got a phone book full of a bunch of women. Now he goes out and he's with another 10 or 20 or 30% of women. Now I think in this image, they said the percentage, as of July 13th, 2023, there has been a 128% increase among women, and ninefold rise in something else. I don't have the rest of it, of the clipping. So now, if that's the case, you've got two men that have the nose rot, the go crazy eventually, right? They have this. You have two men that have it, and 20 or 30 women that have it. Because if it was just a boyfriend girlfriend, and the girlfriend cheated with top player, and she came back and now she has it, and then she gives it to her boyfriend, that's it. Like the problem stops. It's not this huge contagion. Where the contagion falls is women are using their sexuality, they're using their availability, and they're reaching so far above their station for these men, and all the women are going after the same men because of their looks and their status, and those men are like, you're a 6, I'm a 10. I will throw one into you because it's Friday. I literally had to put in 0 effort. It's 12 o'clock. My usual rotation of girls isn't answering the phone. Do you want to go out in the back seat of my car just to get a nut? And the girls are like, oh my God, yes, you're so fine. Because she doesn't value him for anything else, and he doesn't value her for anything else. So as long as this happens, this is where we are. And what women will not seem to understand is that the top 10 and 20% of men who are players, they have no problem sleeping down to an average girl. I knew a guy like this when I was in the military. He was a good-looking guy. I want to say his name was Carlos. He was in the military with me, and I think he was a rank or two higher than me. He was a guy that was like 28. I think I was 21. He was like 27 or 28. He had pretty decent income, came from a good family, so he got extra money. He drove like a really nice brand new Acura. And this guy was Rico Suave. Like, he had the whole accent and everything, and a bunch of us guys that went off base, we'd go out to a pub. Within 10 minutes, he'd be like, oh, let me tell you, you're so beautiful. He had this accent. I can't do accents. You're so beautiful, baby. And she loved the accent. He'd be out nailing that in the backseat of his car. 20, 30 minutes later, he'd come back in the club. And he'd hang out with her, and they'd laugh, and he'd be like, oh, I got your number. Yeah, I'm going to hang out with my guy friends. He'd come over and hang out with us for 15, 20 minutes, tell us that. And we knew it was true because we saw the guy leave with her 20 minutes ago and come back. And then by the end of the night of the club, he would have gone around and talked to tons of women, and he would take the very best one that said yes to him home for the night. And we all lived in a dorm, so we all drove back, and you'd see him with these women. So he'd have opportunities for 10 and 20 women, and he would choose the best of the night that was willing to sleep with him that night. And he did this over and over and over. Now, did he get his tires flattened? Yes. Did he get keys run down the side of his car? Yes. Did he say some things to these women to kind of quote unquote fool them into thinking there was going to be something more? Yes. Did he care? No, he didn't care. Well, these men still exist today. The difference is, instead of taking home the best one of the night that he could take all of them home if he wanted to. It's endless for these guys. And so they don't settle because, again, what's she offer other than her looks and her femininity? A lot of guys want to play and want different, different new partners. And these women think that these guys are going to fall in love, not realizing that they don't offer anything else. And so the only way that this ever really works out for anybody is if those player men stop sleeping with all the women. Are they going to do it? No. If someone hands you the keys to the bank vault and then tells you whatever you do, don't go in there and take all the money, you're going to look at them and be like, I like free money. I'm going to take the money. You said it's not illegal? Okay, I'm going to go take the money now. Thank you for being stupid enough to give me the keys. But when a woman stops sleeping with men and she says, no, you have to be my boyfriend and we have to date for a little bit of time and all this other stuff, and puts rules on it, the player's going to be like, I'm not going to do all that. I'm not going to wait a couple months to get to know you. I don't want to. But you know who will? A nice guy, an average guy that actually thinks, hey, you know what? I'd like to get to know this person. But even if that happens, even today if that happens, the problem is then the woman finds Chad McThunderstroke and she's like, I'm going to leave my boyfriend because I want him because he's new and exciting and tingly. My boyfriend doesn't offer me enough. He's nice and he's sweet and he's kind to me, but he doesn't offer me enough. And so she leaves. Why? Because she doesn't value him for his strength or his kindness or his income, or his intelligence, or his ability to provide, or for his ability to protect, because women don't need that from men anymore. And that's how feminism and all this stuff has literally destroyed everything for all these cultures. It's happening in Japan. It's happening in South Korea. It's happening in China. It's happening in Europe. It's everywhere, with the exception of like South Africa. I think South Africa is one of the few countries that's not having all these problems. South Africa being one of the continents, not countries, continents that's not having this problem. Middle East. The Middle East is not having this problem. Why? No feminism. No women working at jobs, no women going out and getting all the college degrees. And therefore the men have their value still, and the women have their value still, and their different values. But anytime you have a quarter and there's a head on one side and there's a head on the other side, guess what? It's a fake quarter. It's no good. You need, and that's why I think all of this is just done. I think all of this is done. It's toast. It's not going to work unless you find a woman that says, you know what? I would love to stop working and be a stay-at-home mom, and I would love to date a man like you, and I'd like to get, have a home and get married someday. But smart men don't get married. Oh, where's my button? Where is it? There it is. Smart men don't get married.
Smart men don't get married.
But it doesn't mean that you can't have a long-term girlfriend. It doesn't mean that you can't love each other. And hey, maybe she proves herself and you can get a rock-solid prenup, maybe you are willing to take that gamble. But the woman has to show up and be like, yes, I don't want to work. I got my degree in work because just in case I didn't meet a man. But now that I've met you and you're willing to provide for us, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and I want to take care of everything, and I want to take care of you, and I have a body count of 0 or 1, very low. Like, tried it once or twice, it didn't work, but I'm willing to give this a shot. Like, but where do those exist anymore? And that's the problem we fall into. That's why we're having all these issues. So until things change, the young men have no value. And young women have a lot of value to most men. And those women will never settle on a man because they have all the choice in the world. And the young men get nothing. But over time, as the men get more, and the women age, and they don't know how to cook and clean, and they don't have much to offer, and eventually they have a kid by some dude, and their body count goes up, eventually they have nothing to offer, and the guy's now got a good station in life, and he's done well for himself, and he's successful and maybe decent looking. And now the women that can't get anybody look at him and go, well, I want him now because that's the best I can get. Now he's got all the choices. But now he doesn't want the women. Why? Because they're not bringing their femininity and their looks and their beauty. Now he's back down to dating the young girls that want an older guy that's got something. Around and around and around we go. It never works out. It's never going to work out. Until you find the needle in a needle stack, or until the rules change, just assume things are going to continue to get worse. That's my take on it. Maybe it's unfair. Maybe it's doomer and black pill and all this other stuff. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Because you can say, well, this one exception, my cousins, brothers, uncles, whatever. But if you look at the statistics, it's not a winning game. Guys, I'll leave it there for you on YouTube. We're going to go do a dating profile of the day over on betterbachelor.locals.com. So if you want to get the extra content, come on over and join us today. It's $5 a month to become a supporter. Keeps me independent of Big Mama YouTube's rules. They demonetized and age restricted a video I did yesterday for like 2 hours. I had to appeal it and everything else. I'm literally like, look, I'm just reading a news story. And eventually they came around to it and they're like, oh, okay. But by then it wasn't offered on the homepage for the first few hours that it was available. So I lost probably 50% of my views. That's how they hit you. Come over to betterbachelor.locals.com. Free speech, great community, Saturday night movie nights. It's a best part of the web. That's all I can say.